So after algae, आज हम करेंगे bryophytes, pteridophytes and gymnosperms. So let's begin with bryophytes. Bryophytes को क्या कहते हैं? Amphibians of plant kingdom. Water amphibians जो पानी में as well as land में, terrestrial and aquatic, they can live in both the places, right? Why they are called amphibians of plant kingdom? Let's see. पहले देखते हैं their habitat. They are terrestrial. Occurs in cool, damp and shaded places. Clear? Their plant body इनका green, non-vascular means they lack vascular bundles. Okay? Simple. या thalloid, dorsiventral होंगे और small leafy like. यहाँ पे लिखती हूँ thalloid, dorsiventral. Okay? Or small leafy like. And they are attached to the substratum with the help of root-like structures, not true roots. True roots क्यों नहीं है? क्योंकि इनमें vascular bundle नहीं है. With the help of they both unicellular, cellular or multicellular rhizoids. Clear? And one very interesting thing about bryophytes is that plant body जो हमें दिख रहा है, that is the gametophyte phase and that is haploid. अब haploid है तो gametophyte है तो क्या होगा? They are going to produce the gametes. So how do they produce the gametes? By which kind of a division? By mitosis. Very important. इनमें vegetative reproduction जो होता है, that is by fragmentation. Okay? And sexual reproduction. Let's look into their sexual reproduction. Then this and why they are called amphibian of plant kingdoms, it will be clear. They have male and female sex organs or reproductive organs. The male organ is called antheridium, which produces the male gametes. This is the jacket layer. This is जहां पे gametes हो रहे हैं. From here the gametes will be produced. This is the stalk. Okay, बाहर एक the layer है which is like a jacket. Okay, this is the body of the antheridium. They produce male gametes. Okay, the male gametes need a thin film of water to swim up to the female reproductive part, which is archegonium. So they are terrestrial, but they depend on water for their fertilization. That is why they are called amphibians. Okay, and because they need water for their fertilization, you will find that they grow in cool, damp places with moisture, जहाँ पे पानी का presence हो, like the banks of streams. And then let's look at the female sex organ, which is archegonium. It is flask shaped. Okay. यहाँ पे they have a single egg or oosphere. This is the neck of the archegonium, and these are the neck canal cells. So in the plant body is haploid. उनमें the sex organs are produced. The male gamete swims up to the female gamete, fertilizes it. Zygote is formed. Now zygote gives rise to the sporophyte. Zygote. So see, this is N. This is also N. ये स्विम करके यहाँ आ गया, फर्टिलाइजेशन हैज अकर्ड, सो इट गिव्स राइज टू जाइगोट विच इज ट्वाइसन. तो दिस देन डिवाइड्स, ये साथ साथ ही डिवाइड करके डज नॉट गिव rise to another gametophytic plant. It divides mitotically. It divides mitotically to give rise to sporophyte. This sporophyte is also green, but it is attached to the gametophyte plant. ये independent नहीं होता. The gametophyte, the main plant body is haploid. Gametophyte and independent bears the sex organs, fertilization occurs, zygote is produced, zygote divides mitotically to produce the sporophyte. Sporophyte is not dependent, not independent, it is dependent on the gametophyte. Clear है? It is attached to the, it stays attached to the gametophyte. फिर जाके उनमें capsule होता है, then meiosis occurs in those cells. It bursts, those spores are dispersed, and then they give rise to gametophyte. So this is how gametophyte, sporophyte, gametophyte. This keeps on alternating. Okay, this is how you get to see the alternation of the two phases: gametophyte phase, sporophyte phase, gametophyte phase, sporophyte phase. Clear hai? With this is the general account of bryophytes. Now, bryophytes is divided into two types, two categories. One is liverwort, another is mosses. So let's look into them. तो अब हम देखते हैं the two different types of or two different categories of bryophytes. एक liverworts है, एक mosses है. Let's begin with liverworts. दोनों ही कहाँ पे होते हैं? The habitat is moist, cool, damp places by the sides of streams. Okay. Their plant body, either they are dorsoventral, DV लिख रही हूँ, thalloid structure, or small, leafy. Thalloid है तो कैसा? Like example is Markensia. It is given in your book. This is the soil, attached to the soil with the help of rhizoids, which are root-like structures. Clear? या तो फिर small leaf-like. They never grow very big in height, and they are very leafy भी हो, थोड़ा सा erect भी हो, but they are very close to the earth. Okay, to the surface. In small leafy-like, the leaves are arranged in two rows. Say for example, this is the branch U. Okay, or on the ventral side, dorsal side से आप ऊपर से देखेंगे तो you can see two leaves arranged in two rows, and नीचे you would find like one single row of leaf attached like this. So they are also attached to the soil with the help of rhizoids. Clear? They are green, they are independent. This is the gametophyte phase. So keep writing independent, gametophyte, photosynthetic, of course, gametophyte with rhizoids. Vegetative reproduction occurs by fragmentation. Thallus breaks and the broken thallus gives rise to new plant body, जैसे हमने algae में देखा था. Okay, asexual reproduction is very interesting in them. They have special structures. Asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction by structures called gamma. These are small green independent structure. Small green independent means what? They have chlorophyll. Green क्यों है? Chlorophyll है. Independent. So chlorophyll है तो अपना खाना खुद बना सकते हैं. and they are borne on special cup-like structures which are called gamma cups. This is the gamma. इस थैलॉइड पे होता है like this. थैलॉइड पे अगर आप कभी देखें तो आपको ऐसा दिखने को मिलेगा. दिस cup-like structures. इनके अंदर ये गेमा होता है. When they are dispersed, the spores fall into the soil and give rise to new plant. Clear? Then let us look into their sexual reproduction. अब liverworts can be either monoecious या dioecious. आपके बुक में आपके एग्जाम्पल दिया हुआ है मार्केंशिया का. मार्केंशिया में मेल and the female plants are separate, which means what? They're dioecious, right? So let's take that example. This is the thallus. This is the archegoniophore. Archegoniophore is nothing but the stalk. Archegoniophore. यहाँ पे है archegonia. This is the antheridiophore, which is the stalk, and this is the antheridium. Antheridium. So the reproductive parts are borne on the thallus attached with the stalks. In case of female, archegoniophore. In case of male, antheridiophore. Gametes are released from the male only. Female का यहीं पे one single egg is produced inside the flask-like archegonium. ये वहीं पे रहता है. The male swims in the water, reaches the archegonium. Clear? It fuses. Then it produces the sporophyte. मतलब the zygote, and the zygote divides. Zygote and the sporophyte जो होता है वो भी it is attached. This is sporophyte. Say example, this is a capsule. It is attached to the gametophyte क्योंकि ये independent नहीं होता. It has to depend on the gametophyte. So it is attached. अब यहाँ पे the cells undergo meiosis. And they produce spores which are released and they give rise to the new plant. This is all about the sexual reproduction. और कैसे gametophyte से sporophyte होता है. And this is the example of a markensia, which is a dioecious dorsoventral liverwort. तो मैं कहाँ पे लिखूं? Let me write it here. Examples है, एक है markensia. This is dioecious, D. Then there is another one, Riccia. This is monoecious. उनका स्ट्रक्चर भी बिल्कुल ऐसा ही होता है, but they are monoecious. तो दोनों स्ट्रक्चर्स एक ही में देखने को मिलेगा. क्लियर है? This is monoecious. These two are dorsoventral types. These two are dorsoventral liverworts. Then porella. This is a leafy liverwort. Okay? अब हम mosses का देखते हैं. Mosses का क्या होता है? Mosses they have two phases in their life cycle. The first phase or the primary phase is called protonema. वो कैसा होता है? जैसे हमारा है, we are like toddler, infant, toddlers, adolescent, and then adulthood. तो उनका भी the first stage of the life is called protonema. How does this look? और mosses सारे leafy होते हैं. यहाँ पे dorsoventral कुछ होता नहीं है. They are thin filamentous. Okay. अब यही से this is the primary protonema. Primary filament. यहां से जो निकल रहा है that is secondary, and if another one comes then this is the tertiary one, and they are attached to the substratum. ये soil है आपका. with the help of multicellular, मैं branches भी कर देती हूँ, okay, and branched, multicellular and branched rhizoids. The secondary stage is the leafy stage. Secondary stage में हमें leaf देखने को मिलता है, primary stage में नहीं. Primary stage पतला सा filament like होता है. How does the secondary stage come? Like this is the secondary branch, right? यहाँ पे a bud would arise, a bud आएगा और that bud will give rise to, मैं इस पे say for example इस पे एक bud आया. In the next one you would see यहां से the leafy secondary stage you can see. Clear? So इनमें vegetation. So how does the secondary stage or the leafy stage come? It arises from a lateral bud on the secondary protonema. So second stage is this is the first stage, first phase. Second phase is leafy one. It arises from a lateral bud on secondary protonema. Clear? And in पे भी vegetative reproduction is with the help of fragmentation. Vegetative reproduction with the help of fragmentation. Sexual reproduction में भी the plants will bear the two reproductive organs, the antheridium as well as the archegonium. Fusion occurs and fusion के बाद zygote. Zygote gives rise to the sporophyte. How does the sporophyte look like? Let's see. ये ले लेते हैं leafy small moss, okay? This is the capsule. This is the seta और यहाँ पे the अंदर this is the food and this is the gametophyte. This is the sporophyte phase. Clear? यहाँ पे again the meiosis will occur, the spores will fall on the ground and it will give rise to new plants. So do you see this diagram? It is a combination of the gametophyte giving support or to the dependent sporophyte. Sporophyte independent नहीं होता, वो gametophyte से ही attached रहता है. Is that clear? So इनके कुछ examples हैं. Let me write it here. Funaria, Polytrichum, Sphagnum. Clear? So with this we are done with both the categories of liverworts as well as mosses. Let us look into their economic importance or just importance to humankind. उससे पहले एक बात और कहना था. हाँ, from here please remember जो important points of bryophytes हैं. यहाँ पे the gametes are produced by mitosis. Let me write it for you. Okay. Plant body, haploid. So gametophyte. मैं GP लिख रही हूँ. Okay. Gametes produced by mitosis. Sporophyte dependent on gametophyte. Where do we get to see meiosis? In the sporophyte, okay? Meiosis in capsule of sporophyte. Okay, because questions आ सकता है, लेकिन bryophytes, where do you get to see meiosis? Options are कुछ A, B, C कुछ भी दे दे, D पे डाल दिया उन्होंने gametes, and by default we think that gamete is always produced by meiosis, so you may get wrong. इसीलिए मैं ये अलग से लिखवा रही हूँ. Gametes here are produced by mitosis because the plant body is haploid gametophyte. Meiosis कहाँ देखने को मिलता है? In the capsule of the sporophyte. Okay. Now let us look at the importances of bryophytes. So इनके importance में the first importance is that they prevent soil erosion. Mosses, especially see bryophytes दो categories के होते हैं. One is the liverwort, another is the mosses. Mosses, especially mosses का यहाँ अलग से दिया हुआ है कि mosses grow more densely on the soil and thus prevent soil erosion from the falling raindrops. तो कंट्रीब्यूशन ऐसा नहीं कि लिवरवर्ट्स नहीं करते, बट कंट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ मॉसेस इज मोर. सो हु आर मोर रिस्पॉन्सिबल? द मॉसेस मोर देन लिवरवर्ट्स. ओके. सॉइल फॉर्मेशन में भी मॉसेस प्लस लाइकन्स दे कॉलोनाइज द रॉक्स. रॉक्स पे वो उगते हैं. दे ग्रो ऑन दोज रॉक्स एंड एज दे ग्रो ओवर द टाइम पीरियड दे मेक द rock soft. They help in decomposing the rock or breaking the rock and make soil out of it. यहाँ पे भी the mosses are more significant than the liverworts. Then there is a very important moss called sphagnum. इसके दो roles है. It has two roles. Peat moss. Peat, you know what is peat? Peat is a brown, soft, soil-like thing जिसको fuel की तरह यूज करते हैं. So in many places sphagnum have grown for years and years and they have died and decomposed and given rise to peat. So peat is, that is why it is also called as peat moss and that is used as a source of fuel. Sphagnum also has very good dried sphagnum water holding capacity. That is why in packaging of specially plants and flowers, sphagnum is used. जब एक जगह से पैक करके दूसरी जगह भेजना होता है, if you have bought plants online, sometimes you would see that they are packed with this white thin grass like some dried plants. That is sphagnum. Okay. And some bryophytes are food for birds and mammals. So with this bryophytes khatam. I hope you have understood all the important points. So, but still, let's do a quick revision. Though the bryophytes, amphibians of plant kingdom, why? Because they live on soil but depend on water for fertilization. They can be monoecious or dioecious. They can be of two types. They are of two types. Liverworts, mosses. Liverworts further can be of two types. Dorsoventral thalloid type या leafy type. अगर leafy type है तो leaves are arranged in two rows and mosses have two phases. Protonema phase, which is filamentous. Secondary phase, which is leafy. Secondary phase में the leaves are arranged spirally. यहाँ पे the rhizoids are multicellular and branch in mosses. फिर archegonium and oogonium fragmentation यहाँ पे दोनों में ही the vegetative reproduction occurs by fragmentation. Gamma is a asexual spores which is produced by the liverworts, which we get to see in liverworts. They are produced in gamma cups. Vegetative asexual reproduction का हो गया, gamma cups here, and sexual reproduction in both the bryophytes. We get to see archegonium and theridium. Then the sporophyte. Sporophyte is dependent on the gametophyte, and dispersal method mosses का ज़्यादा elaborate है. And these are the importances, right? Now let us move on to pteridophytes. Okay, pteridophytes are the first terrestrial plant. Bryophytes भी terrestrial था. To possess what? Vascular tissues. यानी जाइलम एंड फिल्म यहां से हमें देखने को मिलता है. सो वी बिगिन विथ टेरिडोफाइट्स, जिम्नोस्पर्म्स, एंजियोस्पर्म्स. सब में वी कैन गेट टू सी वेस्कुलर टिश्यू, बट इट इज सीडलेस और इट इंक्लूड्स हॉर्सटेल्स एंड फर्न्स. फर्न्स तो आप सभी ने देखा ही होगा, राइट? मेनी टाइम्स दे आर प्लांटेड एज ऑर्नामेंटल प्लांट्स एंड दे आर ऑल्सो वेरी गुड सॉइल बाइंडर्स. हैबिटेट देख लेते हैं. They also grow in cool and damp, moist places because they also are dependent on water for fertilization. And this is one of the reason why their distribution is restricted in the world. इसीलिए humid जगहों पे ही ज्यादा पाया जाता है. एक तो यहाँ इस टाइप के हैबिटेट में पाया जा सकता है, but few also can grow in sandy soil conditions. Clear? So the habitat can be broadly classified into two types. One is cool, damp, moist place. Another is sandy. Some grow in sandy soils also. इनका plant body. अब इनका जो main plant body है, the ferns that you see or any other pteridophytes that you will see is sporophyte, which means what? Twice N diploid है, right? Bryophyte में it was gametophyte. It is इंडिपेंडेंट ग्रीन, मतलब इट इज फोटोसिंथेटिक ग्रीन है तो इट इज इंडिपेंडेंट. हियर इट इज डिफरेंशिएटेड इनटू स्टेम, लीव्स एंड ट्रू रूट्स. क्लियर? अब इनके लीव्स जो है दे आर ऑफ टू टाइप्स. सम ऑफ द टेरिडोफाइट्स है, उनमें द लीव्स आर स्मॉल, दे आर कॉल्ड माइक्रोफिल्स. एग्जांपल इज सेलाजिनेला. एंड इन सम दे आर लार्ज, कॉल्ड मैक्रोफिल्स, जैसे फर्न्स पे होता है. Let us look into this Selaginella. Okay, so they lie very low and close to the soil, and these are their true roots. Tiny leaves. फिर देखते हैं इक्विजिटम का. इक्विजिटम का क्या है मैं अभी ड्रॉ करती हूँ, and as we move ahead, we will refer to this structure. This is Selaginella. Equisetum. Now remember, before I had started algae, I had given you a brief account of various terminologies. तो उसमें मैंने शायद sporophyll भी mention किया था. अब देखते हैं what is sporophyll. Now if you take a plant, इनके leaf को आप ले लीजिए, उल्टा कीजिए. On the reverse side, on the down side, you would find this black dot-like structures. Okay. That is why they are called sporophyll, the spore bearing. Now what happens is that meiosis occurs here. यहाँ पे जो ये black dots हैं, let me draw. Say for example, we have taken one leaf out of here and we are looking at the reverse side. So these are sporogenous tissue. Clear? यहाँ पे meiosis होना है. Meiosis occurs in sporogenous tissue and they give rise to spores. So meiosis हो गया तो the spores are going to be haploid, right? जैसा आपके बुक में ये लाइन दिया हुआ है, the sporophytes bear sporangia that are subtended. Subtended means क्या? Extended, but because it is under something, that is why X को हटा के sub कर दिया जाता है, which means they are on the underside of the leaves. Clear है? So the sporangium tissues occur or they are subtended on the leaves, and in some cases जैसे जैसे हम evolve हो रहे हैं, we get to see these. ये तो अलग से पत्ते हैं ही. These sporophylls, they are arranged into a compact structure called strobili या cone or strobili. Is this clear? Sporophyll क्यों कहते हैं? What is the sporangia tissue doing here? And कहीं कहीं पत्ते पे होता है, कहीं कहीं पे they become a cone. There are two types. Some plants produce same spores, so they are homosporous. Some are heterosporous. Let me write it. Where should I write? मैं इसे मिटा देती हूँ. तो we have seen sporophytes में से meiosis हुआ, spores were released, they fall into the ground and they give rise to gametophyte, which is inconspicuous, मतलब बहुत ज्यादा prominent नहीं है, right? Structure called prothallus. This is what are the features? This is independent. पहले लिखती हूँ green. Okay, let me write green. So independent. Free living, which means what? It is not attached to anything. I mean, attached to the sporophyte, not attached to the sporophyte. And inconspicuous, not very inconspicuous, not very prominent in size or shape. Now these prothallus are going to bear the sex organs. Clear? The prothallus that comes from the homosporous ferns, homosporous, heterosporous, मैं लिखती हूँ एक मिनट. So there are some differences in the way a homosporous and a heterosporous prothallus develop. If the homosporous spores से जो prothallus develop करते हैं, they are going to bear both the male and the female sex organ on the same plant. So what does it make? They give the prothallus is monoecious. Clear? Heterosporous में one will have the female, the other will have the male sex organ. So here it becomes dioecious. The prothallus is dioecious. Clear? इनके examples है Selaginella and Salvinia. And most of the ferns are homosporous. फिर भी examples के लिए आप लिख लीजिए Lycopodium and Dryopteris. Okay? Now they produce gametes. These gametes, अब यहाँ पे gametes क्या होता है? यहाँ पे भी the gametes are produced by mitosis, right? Because ये already haploid है. Gametes by mitosis. So one similarity with bryophytes is that in bryophytes and pteridophytes the gametes are produced by mitosis. Fusion हुआ, the zygote is formed. Okay, the zygote is retained within the archegonium. Like this is the archegonium. यहाँ पे the zygote is there twice n. यहाँ पे it is retained for some time, then it divides and it gives rise to the independent sporophytic plant. So ये जो कुछ time तक the fact that the zygote is retained within a structure, within the female reproductive part, this is said to be the precursor of seed habit. Seed कैसे बनता है? In angiosperms, this is the ovary. Ovary के अंदर ये ovules है, right? जो होता है ये ovules ovary के अंदर रह जाते हैं, इसके अंदर female gametophyte है. यहाँ जो develop करता है embryo, ये बाहर नहीं जाता, it is retained within the seed. So यहाँ पे भी हमें कुछ retention habits देखने को मिल रहा है. It is the beginning of the retention habit. That is what we get to see here. The zygote is not immediately dispersed. It is retained within the gametophyte. फिर it gives rise to the sporophyte. So this habit is called this habit is an indication, or this habit is a precursor of the seed habit. Seed habit हमें बाद में gymnosperms and angiosperms में देखने को मिलता है. Clear है? So इनका क्या था? The main plant body was sporophyte. Bore spores gave rise to spores with meiosis. Spores इनका क्या था? Haploid. Then they give rise to gametophyte. Okay, gametophyte give rise to gametes by mitosis. तो यहाँ पे meiosis होता है sporophyte पे, meiosis और माइटोसिस होता है गैमेटोफाइट पे, राइट। एंड देन फ्यूशन, जाइगोट, जाइगोट से फिर स्पोरोफाइट। क्लियर? देन टेरिडोफाइट हैज 4 ग्रुप्स। तो ferns are divided into 4 groups. क्या क्या है? Xylopsida. Example, Xylotum. Then Lycopsida. I have put a star mark क्योंकि ये important इसलिए है. This bears both homosporous and heterosporous members. Lycopodium is homosporous, Selaginella is heterosporous. इसीलिए मैंने यहाँ पे hetero लिख दिया है. Now, of all the examples, all the plants that is mentioned in your syllabus, Selaginella or Salvinia ही खाली heterosporous है. So just try to remember these two as the heterosporous. बाकी अगर कुछ आ जाता है, so that's going to be homosporous. वैसे भी most of the ferns are homosporous. Okay. Then Sphenopsida, Equisetum. This is also important because इसका जो diagram दिया हुआ है, please take a very good look at it. The differentiation of nodes and internodes is very prominent here. Branches ऐसे hold पे आ रहे हैं, and this has a strobili or a pone and a rhizome. So 1, 2, 3. 3 features के लिए Equisetum is important. Then Pteropsida. Pteropsida में Dryopteris में भी rhizome होता है. Pteris and Adiantum. Okay. और फर्न्स का वैसे इम्पोर्टेंस बहुत ज्यादा नहीं है, बट इट हेल्प्स, आई मीन इट इज यूज्ड एज ऑर्नामेंटल एंड कहीं कहीं पे मेडिसिनल यूजेस भी इनके होते हैं. नाउ लेट अस डू अ क्विक रिकैप ऑफ हमने फर्न्स पे क्या क्या सीखा. सो द फर्स्ट टेरेस्ट्रियल प्लांट टू possess vascular tissue, differentiated into stem, leaves and roots. The main plant body is a sporophyte. The leaves have dual function है. एक तो photosynthesis, दूसरा है they also act as sporophyll, which means what? They have the sporogenous tissue underneath them on the lower surface. Sporogenous tissues produce spores by meiosis. Meiosis से they give rise to the gametophyte phase. Now before going there, in most of the ferns, the leaves are the sporophylls, but in some such as Equisetum, the sporophylls are arranged in cones called strobili. Clear है? Spores can be of 2 types, homosporous या heterosporous. If it is homosporous, the gametophyte is going to be monoecious, which means male and female gametophyte sex organs एक ही prothallus पे होंगे. The gametophyte is represented what? By a prothallus, which is inconspicuous, green है तो independent भी है, okay, and free living. Free living means what? It is not attached to the sporophyte. और अगर heterosporous से gametophytes हो रहे हैं, heterosporous से जो prothallus form हो रहे हैं, they are going to be dioecious. So the male and the female sex organs are going to be on 2 different prothalli. Clear? Fusion occurs, zygote. Zygote is retained within the archegonia for some time before it gives rise to the new plant. ये जो retention है for some time, this is seen as a precursor of the seed habit. Okay? Now let us move on to gymnosperms. And once we are done with gymnosperms, फिर एक comparative table करेंगे between bryophytes, टेरिडोफाइट्स एंड जिम्नोस्पर्म्स की कहाँ कौन सा प्लांट बॉडी स्पोरोफाइट है, कौन सा गैमेटोफाइट, कौन फ्री लिविंग है, कौन डिपेंडेंट है. ओके, मियोसिस कहाँ होता है, माइटोसिस कहाँ होता है, बिकॉज दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रॉम एमसीक्यूज पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. क्लियर है? तो अब देखते हैं जिम्नोस्पर्म्स. सो नाउ जिम्नोस्पर्म्स. जिम्नोस्पर्म्स मीन्स व्हाट? नेकेड सीड. मतलब क्या? यहाँ के जो ओव्यूल्स है, अनलाइक एंजियोस्पर्म्स, वो ओवरी के अंदर नहीं है, सो दे आर एक्सपोज्ड. यहाँ पे कोई ओवरी नहीं होता. क्लियर है? सो द सीड दैट इज फॉर्म्ड, द ओव्यूल्स ना तो फर्टिलाइजेशन से पहले एनक्लोज्ड है, ना ही फर्टिलाइजेशन के बाद एनक्लोज्ड है. Sperma means seed. That is why naked seed. Okay. So let us look into their habit. मतलब plant body इनका कैसा होता है? From medium sized to tall trees. One thing that is mention worthy here is the redwood tree, the sequoia. They are giant trees and they may reach up to a height of 100 meters. Okay. The plant body is differentiated into stem, leaves, roots. Now the stem may be branched या unbranched. Branched हमें कहाँ देखने को मिलता है? Pinus, Cedrus. और unbranched in Cycas. This is S. Clear? इनके leaves पे आते हैं. Leaves can either be simple or compound. Compound leaf is in Cycas, and one thing is that their leaves persist for a very long time. Clear? इनके leaves के features देखते हैं. They are well adapted needle-like. अगर simple है, not necessary that all the gymnosperms have needle-like leaves, but in a good number of them, if they are not compound, the simple leaves many times they happen to be needle-like. क्यों? To reduce the surface area. चपटा लैमिना जैसा बड़ा नहीं होता. It is all compacted. पतला needle जैसा तो surface area has been reduced, right? Sunken stomata or thick cuticle. जहां especially in areas where it snows, thick cuticle. Stomata surface पे नहीं होता, थोड़ा सा नीचे होता है. Cuticle is काफी thick, especially in areas where it is very cold, so that they can withstand those extreme temperatures. Roots of gymnosperms are mostly taproot. In some special two roots यहाँ पे जो mention worthy है, one is called mycorrhiza. कहाँ देखने को मिलता है? Pinus tree में. Pinus or the pine. Commonly we called it the pine tree, right? वहाँ पे the roots show association with fungus. Association with fungus, and such a type of root is called mycorrhiza. Rhiza is root, myco is the fungal component. Clear है? Where do we get to see? P. Pinus पे. Then colaroid roots we get to see in Cycas. Here the roots show association with blue-green algae or the cyanobacteria. So they photosynthesize and they take shelter on these roots. Now the main plant body here is a sporophyte and it is heterosporous. So in pteridophyte the main plant body is sporophyte. यहाँ पे भी it is sporophyte. So from pteridophyte moving forward, pteridophyte, gymnosperm, angiosperm, the main plant bodies are all sporophyte. Pteridophyte, most of them were homosporous, few heterosporous. यहाँ पे gymnosperms are all heterosporous. So do you see how these plants are evolving? Clear? यहाँ पे in pteridophytes we had seen कि the पत्ते के नीचे the spores were there. यहाँ पे the pattas are only associated with photosynthesis. They are not associated with the holding of sporogenous tissue. यहाँ पे leaf-like structure, mind it. Leaf-like structures bear sporogenous tissue. Okay? Or leaf-like structure that bears sporogenous tissue can be of two types. Microphyll, megaphyll. Microphyll है तो they will give rise to microspores. Megaphyll है तो they will give rise to megaspores. Clear? अब microspores, micro means what? This is going to represent the male. So this is the male gamete यहाँ से होगा, female gamete यहाँ से होगा, right? Now I said the sporogenous tissue are borne on special leaf-like structures which are called sporophyll. Now sporophyll यहाँ पे बिखरा हुआ नहीं है. They are arranged compactly into cone-like structures. So from gymnosperms you get to see cone. In pteridophyte हमने खाली equisetum में देखा था that it has a cone, but here all the gymnosperms, The sporophylls are arranged in compact structure like cones. Cones के अंदर एक axis in which these sporophylls are arranged spirally. Clear? Microphyll है तो microsporophyll actually. Microsporophyll. Sorry for that, Babu. Microsporophyll. Clear? Microsporophyll या बड़े बड़े फील है, बड़े बड़े leaf like structure है तो megasporophyll, and they are heterosporous. Now the plants of gymnosperms can be monoecious या dioecious. मैं इसको रब करके लिखूं तो शायद I think it will be clear. I hope I'm being able to explain it to you. So जैसे हमने देख लिया कि the sporophylls are arranged in cones. The arrangement of the sporophylls can either be lax बहुत या तो फिर very compact. Microsporophylls and megasporophylls. Now gymnosperms are heterosporous, which means cones तो दोनों के अलग अलग होने हैं. अब क्या है कि it can be either monoecious or dioecious. Dioecious cycas, monoecious pinus. These are the examples. Okay. Now let us take a cone. Let us take a sporophyll out of this. Okay. इस स्पोरोफिल के नीचे के तरफ there is the sporangium or the sporogenous tissue. So this is the microsporangium. यहाँ से microspore mother cell will differentiate. Some cells will become microspore mother cells. It will undergo meiosis to produce microspores. And microspores differentiate to form the pollen grains. Clear? So this is the haploid structure. They represent the male gametophyte. Yes, this is the final structure after all the divisions, the haploid one. So this is the male gametophyte. Clear hai? Now in dioecious, if we take a sporophyll, we will find the sporangia here. That is the megasporangium. Actually, it's a bit different here. Megasporangium. Ye, say for example, this is the leaf. This is the sporophyll. Let us think this is the ovule. यहाँ पे, these are the tissues. This is the nucellus. So this is the megasporangium. Clear? This is the nucellus. One cell from nucellus will differentiate as megaspore mother cell. Clear hai? Now this will form a functional megaspore. And this functional megaspore will give rise to 2 or more female reproductive organ, which is archegonia. Okay? This entire thing is being produced inside the ovule. Up, once the pollen grains, and यहाँ पे जिसके बाद next step is fertilization. अब तक हम देख रहे थे the presence of water was very necessary for fertilization. यहाँ पे there is no role of water because these are giant trees. They depend on air for their fertilization. So the pollens are carried by air. तो यहाँ पे wind pollination है. They are carried into the megasporangium. They are carried into the megasporangium. Draw कहाँ करूँ? Let us assume this is the one. This is the ovule. यहाँ पे 1 archegonia, 2 archegonia. Okay. The male gametophytes or the pollen grains are released here. The pollen grains, say for example, this is the pollen grain. They form the tube. This is the egg. they release the male gametes here, fertilization takes place. Okay, this is clear है. So this is the zygote. So what the difference we see कि यहाँ पे the male gametophyte or the female gametophyte is extremely reduced and completely dependent on the sporophyte. Clear है? Now this zygote is enclosed within the ovule, लेकिन ovule के बाहर कोई ovary नहीं है. Here the seed is formed. The zygote slowly develops and differentiates into the seed, and this is the sporophyll which is still attached to the sporophyll. Okay, यहाँ पे ovary as such नहीं है. That is why the seeds are naked. Clear है? So am I able to explain to you कि यहाँ पे माइक्रोस्पोर्स, मेगास्पोर्स कैसे फॉर्म होते हैं? व्हाट इज द कोन, व्हाट इज द स्पोरोफिल? ओके, मैं फिर भी एक बार बोल देती हूँ. यहाँ पे द स्पोर्स आर बोर्न ऑन डिफरेंट स्पोरोफिल्स. स्पोरोफिल्स हियर आर लीफ लाइक स्ट्रक्चर्स. वो अब पत्तों पे नहीं होते, दे कम टुगेदर टू फॉर्म अ कोन. तो अगर माइक्रोस्पोर्स प्रोड्यूसिंग स्पोरोफिल है तो इट इज गोइंग टू बी अ माइक्रोस्पोरोफिल. मेगास्पोर प्रोड्यूसिंग है तो मेगास्पोरोफिल. Megaspores means the female, microspore means the male. Clear? Microspores यहाँ पे sporogenous tissue से microsporangium, microspore mother cell, meiosis से pollen grain. This is the final male gametophyte. This is dispersed by wind, carried onto the archegonia. यहाँ पे देख लेते हैं. This is an ovule. यहाँ पे इनका sporogenous tissue होता है. The sporogenous tissue here is actually represented by an ovule. Sorry, this one. Look here. न्यूसेलस से एक सेल डिफरेंशिएट करता है द मेगास्पोर मदर सेल. इट अंडरगोज मियोसिस, प्रोड्यूसेस वन फंक्शनल मेगास्पोर. उससे इट गिव्स राइज टू 2 और मोर आर्किगोनिया विद इन द ओव्यूल. क्लियर है? इन एंजियोस्पर्म्स व्हेन यू विल रीड यू विल सी दैट ओनली वन ओव्यूल सैक इज फॉर्म्ड. वन एम्ब्रियो सैक इज फॉर्म्ड. यहाँ पे एम्ब्रियो सैक एक नहीं, यहाँ पे दो आर्किगोनिया फॉर्म होते हैं, 2 या 2 से ज्यादा. Dispersion of pollen grains. Pollen grains come deposited here. They give the pollen tube. Fertilization होता है. Zygote twice end. So it is again back to sporophyte. Seed is formed. Seed is retained within the sporophyll. तो and because there is no ovary, इसलिए seed का कोई fruit नहीं होता. But ovule के जो integuments है, they form the seed coat here. Okay. This falls up and gives rise to new plant. So this is all about the reproduction of gymnosperms. इसमें cycas is a very important example. Why? Because it is unbranched, it is dioecious, it has got colaroid roots. Anything else about cycas? Its leaves are compound and they are very long living. Okay? With this we are done with gymnosperms. इसके बाद हम एक comparative table देखते हैं. Clear है? My duster. तो अब हम देखते हैं comparative table between bryophytes, pteridophytes and gymnosperms. Let us look into the gametophyte. In bryophyte, it is free living, independent, represented by who? The main plant body. Clear? In pteridophyte, यहाँ पे phyte, do I have a space? Yes. Free living है, independent है. What represents the gametophyte in ferns or pteridophytes? It is a special structure called prothallus. In gymnosperms, gametophyte is dependent and represented by the gametes. Clear? The sporophyte in bryophyte is dependent, represented by this body which consists of capsule, seta and food. Okay? In pteridophyte, sporophyte is free living and it is the main plant body. In gymnosperm also it is free living and represented by the main plant body. Gametes in bryophytes is produced by mitosis. In pteridophyte also mitosis. In gymnosperm by meiosis. Okay. Now let us look into angiosperms. The gymnosperms we are almost done, but one important thing about gymnosperms, एक diagram आपके book में है about ginkgo biloba. It is important because it is a gymnosperm which is known for long shoot. इनके shoot पे differentiation है and short shoot, and this is the bilobed leaf. Okay. This is the dwarf shoot. Sorry. This is a special feature, dwarf shoot. This is a special feature of the gymnosperm ginkgo biloba. Diagrams भी आपके बहुत important होते हैं, so please keep them in mind. That is why I mentioned this one. I did not mention this one, but the इसका long and dwarf shoot के लिए please keep it in your mind. Okay, and the leaves are bilobed. Clear है? So after algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, angiosperms. Angiosperms के बारे में हम details में in the subsequent chapters पढ़ने ही वाले हैं. But यहाँ पे जो है that angiosperms are mainly the flowering plants. What happens is gymnosperm में जो ovule was naked. In angiosperms we have flowers, right? So the the reproductive parts or the sex organs are enclosed within flower. Clear है? And this is the ovary. Ovules are here. So after fertilization, this ovary forms the fruit. And let me come this way. And this forms the seed. तो seed जो है वो एक fruit body के अंदर बंद हो जाता है. यही वाली बात जिम्नोस्पर्म में नहीं होती because the seeds वहां पे ovary नहीं है, इसलिए no external fruit. That is why the seeds are naked. Here the seeds are not naked. Or angiosperm shows different forms right from Wolffia, which is very Wolffia to eucalyptus. Eucalyptus 100 meters long. Right? These are the shortest angiosperms. Angiosperms कहाँ? Aquatic, terrestrial, epiphytic, desert, हर जगह होते हैं. So we will read about angiosperms in the next chapters. Or angiosperms divided into two groups, which is monocotyledon and dicotyledon. Monocotyledon में एक cotyledon है और dicotyledon में दो. So with this we are done with the chapter Plant Kingdom. And you have liked, I hope you have liked this chapter. I hope I have been able to explain to you, okay, the concepts of Plant Kingdom clearly. So please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel. Okay, please like my videos, share it with your friends, and please subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.